Tonight, in-depth conversations with the governor, Detroit Emergency Manager Kevyn Orr, county executives, and more on where Michigan is headed. Stay with us. MiWeek starts right now.
Recently, Michigan's economy has begun to turn around. Michigan's gained over 250,000 new jobs. We've paid off $20 billion in long-term debt. And our population is increasing for the first time in a decade. But to make Michigan a top 10 state, there's still plenty of work to be done. Step up and help put Michigan on top. Learn what you can do at MichiganTurnaroundPlan.com.
Funding is also provided by Delta.
Hi there and welcome to MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm Christy McDonald. I hope that you're getting ready to enjoy the holiday weekend with family and friends. Here at MiWeek, we thought this would be a good time to take a look at some of the biggest conversations we had recently at the Mackinac Policy Conference about where Michigan is in terms of education, regional cooperation, the Detroit bankruptcy, and the financial state of our cities. So tonight, we'll hear from Governor Snyder on funding cities around the state. Detroit's Emergency Manager Kevyn Orr will talk about where the bankruptcy process is headed. Also tonight for you, an interview with Don Graves, most recently the White House point person in Detroit on federal help for the city. The three county executives sit down and talk water and regional action, and a look at the state of education with Skillman Foundation CEO Tonya Allen. It is all coming up for you tonight. So we start with Governor Rick Snyder, what he thinks about Detroit's bankruptcy process so far, and if any other Michigan city could be in line for money from the state should they run into financial trouble.
Have things been going in Detroit the way that you thought they would through this bankruptcy process?
Largely, yes. This has been one of the largest problems in the United States, and it's a solution to 60 years of problems. So this is extremely difficult stuff. But if you go back and look, in the spring of last year, when I authorized the bankruptcy, we set a rough timetable for how we hoped things would proceed. We're within about 2 weeks of that timetable. And at that time, I don't think many people believed that was really possible. So we've been very consistent. There are still challenges to go. I don't assume this is done. But we have an opportunity by the fall to have a constructive resolution, a settled process here that really says now all parties, instead of talking about the decline of Detroit, can talk about growing Detroit. That's tremendously powerful. And don't we want a situation where we're talking about the growth of Detroit, Michigan? That's exciting.
I think a lot of people would like to see that, but there are also a lot of cities, municipalities around the state that are watching this very carefully. As you very well know, there's a lot of them that are in financial crisis themselves or moving towards that way. Do you think with this grand bargain, you've set up some kind of precedent where these other cities are going to say, where's our money from the legislature?
No, I don't take it that way. Each case is individualized, and if you look at, people have been talking about this massive problem for a number of years. There is a serious problem there we have with our municipalities and units of government. But if you look at the number of communities actually in emergency manager status, really hasn't changed. We've actually had some move out of that status, a few others. We're still talking a handful of communities with emergency managers or consent agreements out of over 2,000 jurisdictions. We do need to do more work, though, and that's why I've called for legislation to do a better early warning system, to say how can we work with communities to better address this long term and work our way out of it.
So a lot of those conversations you think are going to be happening this summer, maybe some new ideas of how to deal with this?
Well, again, more on the early warning front on how to help communities look farther out and to give more transparency and information to the citizens. Because in many cases, I'm not sure all our citizens have the information on their local jurisdictions to know how underfunded they are or what these challenges are, and hopefully they can speak up and encourage their leaders to do more to solve the problem.
The Detroit bankruptcy process has been difficult, but it has moved pretty quickly. A historic agreement between foundations and the state has shielded art from being sold to the DIA in exchange for lesser cuts for pensioners. But it is not over yet. Detroit Emergency Manager Kevyn Orr talks about what's to come and if this bankruptcy is an example for the rest of the country.
This has been an unbelievable set of moving parts. Right. When you're talking about dealing with the unions, the pensioners, the other creditors, you're talking about dealing with the DIA, foundations, and putting this deal together. What has it been like to put together this deal, and could you have envisioned it happening this way even 8 months ago?
No. One of the things that's been so key is the efforts of the mediators led by Judge Rosen. which has really brought to the table this $816 million. You know, last year, this time I kept saying, you know, DIA Corporation, our owners, they have to find a solution. I kept staving off Christie's doing this. We came up with almost $1 billion. I hadn't anticipated that. The level of courage and effort by some of our labor counterparties, their leadership teams, in coming forward and reaching agreements that we're actually going to put forward to the voters, meaning the creditors, to go forward. The interest that we've had in some of our creditor cohorts, the unlimited tax general obligation bondholders, the swap settlement, which we thought was a good deal last year and was driven down to even a better deal this year. So, you know, it's been an eventful year. We're making a little bit of progress, but we have a long way to go.
I was just going to ask you, because the pensioners, they have to vote on this right now.
Yeah,
and
they
so
do.
Do you caution people and say this is not a done deal when people feel that we're almost home free?
Absolutely. You know, Christy, we're coming into the third term. We've still got to, we're coming out of the third term, but we still got to go through the fourth term and that long straightaway to the finish line. Got a little bit of wind at our back, a little bit of momentum, but we have 3 major milestones. We've got to get through the Senate funding, which is not certain. I take nothing for granted, nothing. I don't take it for granted the sun's going to rise tomorrow, okay? We have to get through the planned voting for some of our labor constituencies, and actually there's been some effort by some people to undermine that process, and I have to tell them how dramatic, you know, we're talking about the difference between a cut that's somewhere between 5 and 20% and a cut that could be 60% where people are on the state rolls and are eating cat food, and then we've got to get through the confirmation hearing, which is by no means easy.
Undermine how? Tell me.
Yeah. Well, first with the vote, we're going to hopefully do the same thing we did at the House. We did some of that the past couple of weeks and explain both the value proposition for the city of Detroit, the value proposition for the state of Michigan, but also the risk element to the state of Michigan if we don't. I mean, just pushing, without this deal, you're pushing people onto the poverty rolls who'll come to the state for assistance in one form or another. So it's the old Fram oil filter commercial. You can pay me now or you can pay me later, and luckily the House decided they would like to pay now. On the planned vote, it's very complicated. I have to acknowledge that some of the retirees and employees are going through the ballot. My own staff has come up to me, members of my own staff have come up to me and said, you know, this is hard stuff. So, but we have to understand that at core, it's $816 million that goes away. And they're being hit by some of our creditors are saying, sell the art, it'll yield X billion dollars. Well, I don't know if that's true, but even if it is, that X billion dollars isn't going to be allocated to pensions. That's going to be spread across the whole $12 billion unsecured creditor class. So it's actually less money to the pensioners if you were to do that. But they're trying to confuse them. They're trying to mislead them. And I have to tell them, don't be hoodwinked. Don't be bamboozled. And then the third thing is the confirmation hearing where some of these same counterparties, some of the bond insurers who are going to the financial press, I heard today, and saying Kevyn Orr is undermining efforts in the market by not selling the art, are going to come to the confirmation hearing and say this is unfair. You know, you have to force the city to do it. It's directly contrary to Chapter 9 doctrine, where you cannot force a municipality to sell its assets, but that doesn't mean they're not going to try.
Do you believe that you can finish this process by the October deadline when the City Council can vote to have you out of this position? And if you cannot, would you stay on in some other kind of capacity that perhaps the governor could appoint you to?
Well, you know, I've never rolled off a job in my life, and this is certainly, we've all, I mean, the number of parties that are here, both in the private side and the public side, have expended a lot of blood, toil, tears, and sweat to get us to this point. But, you know, I'm going to try to keep to the schedule that we have. As the court has said, anything can happen. That schedule should slip. I have to be respectful of that. I have to understand that. We're going to try to keep to it. And then when we get to that point to see where we are, you know, we'll address it then. But I certainly would like to think that we'll be in a position to be pretty darn close, if not done.
Do you still believe that this is an example for the rest of the country, and knowing that there are a lot of cities out there that are teetering towards a financial edge, have you set some kind of precedent here where they'll go back and say, this is what happened in Detroit, let's try to execute it this way? Or is this such a unique circumstance that you don't believe that anything like this will be duplicated again?
Yeah, I've been really careful with trying to say that this is an example for other cities. You know, this is costly, it's painful. It's very difficult, but what I will say is the cautionary tale that comes out of all this is delay has no value. Okay, we've you know, Mayor Cobo back in 1931 was dealing with Detroit's financial crisis and its housing crisis. That was 80 years ago, 83 years ago. Okay, Mayor Young had the was it Selkirk or Seacrest committee? You know, Mayor Cobo has a Dodge committee. Mayor Young had Seacrest committee. Mayor Bing had Detroit Future Cities. This has been coming for 80 years, so it's really an opportunity for us to reset the table, try to get this thing on the right track, leave a good balance sheet to the mayor and city council, and have them continue to drive change. But any other municipality, don't wait.
When Detroit filed for bankruptcy, the message from the White House was there will be no bailout for Detroit. But last September, the administration did send a liaison to the city. Don Graves, who also served as executive director of President Obama's Council on Jobs and Competitiveness, worked with Detroit officials to use federal funds that were available.
A little mind-blowing, the nature of the progress that's been made in just the last 9 months. When we came into the city, we were looking at the issues facing the city of blight, of public safety, the issues of less than stellar economic development. And frankly, through the strong partnership of the mayor working directly with the emergency manager and with the state, they've started to turn things around. So it's made my job a lot easier. But as you said, my job is a little bit transitional, if you will, as we see the issues that are going on the ground, trying to respond to those issues and provide the support that we can.
And some people may not even realize that there is a liaison from Washington here working with Detroit. So your role in basically trying to say, look, this is how the government can help, because we've repeatedly heard from the Obama administration there's not going to be a bailout for Detroit, so to speak. So how do you give help, but it's not a bailout?
Well, it's a good question. I think the president has made this clear, and everyone across the administration values the commitment that we're making to the city. Yes, we're not providing a bailout, but there are a whole range of other things that we can and are doing to help the city to deal with its challenges. I guess most importantly, it's that we're here as a resource, that we are listening to the needs, working of the city, working with the mayor, working with city leaders, working with businesses to understand where there are problems, where there are things that they need, and to figure out things that we can do to provide technical assistance, to help give them the support that they need on grant funding to help work through the issues.
At least see, here's where some of the opportunities are that
That's
the city can look for. Let's look at some specifics. I think it was back in April a report came out looking at the technology and a lot of the antiquated systems Detroit has. That's no secret that the IT is just, it needs to be brought up into the year 2014. And so how is the federal government working in that way to help Detroit?
Well, we convened a tech team to come into town and meet with a whole range of folks in the tech community, in the city, to better understand the challenges of Detroit. This team was made up of not federal folks, but municipal experts. These were chief information officers, chief technology officers from cities all across the country that had experienced similar types of challenges that Detroit has had. They came in and spent a few days working with folks in the city, making an assessment, and then, as you pointed out, they provided a report in April on their recommendations. And the very first recommendation that they made, actually, it was the week that the mayor took office. They met with him and provided him with the recommendation that he hire a chief technology officer, and he, in fact, did that. Beth Niblock, he wooed away from the city of Louisville, one of the top technology people in the country, and she's really transforming the way that the city does this business. But that's really what we're trying to do, is provide the city with support in dealing with their municipal capacity issues and dealing with the challenges of human resources and understanding the issues that they're facing. And we may not have funding that we can provide them, but there are other ways that we can support the city.
Point people in the right direction anyway.
That's right.
Before I let you go, I have to ask about blight. This week that report came out looking at $2 billion it could cost to remove the staggering amount of blight that is in the city of Detroit. So then the next question is, people say, where are you going to find that money? How will the administration assess that report that came out this week, and what do you see happening perhaps in the next couple of months and your role in that?
Well, we've been working as a partner with the Blight Removal Task Force and with the mayor and the Detroit Land Bank Authority to really understand what the process is that they're going to go about to demolish those homes or rehab homes where appropriate. We've already provided a substantial amount of seed money, if you will, to get at that blight removal. $52 million from the Hardest Hit Fund program, about $90 million from Department of Housing and Urban Development and grants that we're working with the city to make sure that they are using effectively so we don't waste money or so the city doesn't lose that funding. But we're going to be an ongoing partner with the city so we can make sure that we can get that blight removed as quickly as possible.
So your job here is not done. It must be one of those things that it changes every day. You're not quite sure what you're walking into every day.
That's exactly right. You deal with the challenges of the day and try to think about it in a strategic fashion.
And just a few weeks ago, Don Graves was brought back to Washington and reassigned to Vice President Joe Biden. The administration says it will continue to work with Detroit. Now to regional cooperation and lack thereof when it comes to the future of the Detroit Water Department. The city, as part of the bankruptcy plan, wanted to regionalize the system in exchange for buy-in from the suburbs. It's something the county executives from Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb are not agreeing on.
I want you to, I guess, first off, make your case of why Oakland County does not want to dive into this agreement.
Well, first of all, we don't have all the details. We don't have all the research. We've been asking for over 9 months, give us more financials so we can just figure out what we're getting into. I can only talk about one half. One half of this whole water debate is now under a gag order by the court. The top half is wide open for comment, and that deals with the attempt to have the suburbs accelerate their payments for their water bills and make the pension payments for the Detroit Water and Sewer Board pensioners. And so right now the bill would be normally around 18 million. Next year it's going to go from 18 million to 65 million. Now, right, you know I am choking on that number, and I think why the rest of these guys might be choking, I can't speak for them. And then the year after that it goes to 45 for 9 years. And if you add up the first year plus the last 9 years, it comes up to $450 million, which is what they're short in funding the grand bargain. So somebody came up with this great idea, hey, we can raise the $450 we need to make all the numbers work. Let's just shove it onto the suburbs.
But wouldn't it be a good deal, and Bob, let me ask you, that finally Wayne County, Macomb, and Oakland can buy into this system and have partial ownership and control of this system as well?
There is, and you know, this because of the bankruptcy, you're up against some deadlines that normally you probably wouldn't be up against. I think Judge Rhodes is going to make decisions in this, and they call it technically a cram down that could eventually say this is the way the system's going to run. I think that the legislature, and I know the governor, have looked at this, and I think, to me personally, the authority is the way that's probably going to be the best, because if you have a private entity that's going to run this, you're going to have someone that's going to accelerate those costs one way or another. Their first obligation as the shareholders is what it should be, but they're going to accelerate it, and since they have a monopoly, any of those costs are going to be immediately be able to pass it on to the ratepayers. Brooks is right, and I know Mark agrees, is that everybody wants more information about what is actually the costs of some of these situations. And I don't know, there's mediation that's going on, and Wayne County filed the mediation order, so we're wanting this process to work. I don't think that Judge Rhodes, with such a large asset, is just going to leave it out there and say, after the bankruptcy, we'll deal with this later on. Plus, there probably is room for negotiations now because they've been able to put together more funding sources in terms of, from what I understand, of the grand bargain, and you may not have to need the exact amount that Mr. Orr is asking for in the bankruptcy.
I think that a lot of concern about this, Mark, also is timing, and the fact that there is not a lot of time to make this deal, and when you are entering into this kind of deal, that you want to make sure you do your due diligence and get all the information possible, and that something like this could take years to negotiate with the expansive, the largesse of the system.
You're absolutely right. Again, we want to be regional, but we want to be responsible. And let's face it, this isn't about the regionalizing of the water system. If that really were the issue, we would have worked on this long ago, and we would be taking our time to do our due diligence and do it right. This is a rush because of bankruptcy. There's no question about it. Our concern, and as we've been talking with Oakland County about this, is for the ratepayer. So we want somebody that's going to come in and really take a look at this. The numbers that are flying all over the place and the conversations that have been out there, boy, I tell you what, they're all over the board. But I have not had anybody really look at this and put at the forefront the ratepayers and how the rate structure is going to look, as well as the infrastructure issues. I don't disagree that this would be a good thing for the region to have it regionalized, but how it's being pushed our way and how it's going to be crammed down our throats has been a real problem for me, because really we haven't been able to be responsible as elected officials to look at these numbers, to give a good assessment, to tell our ratepayers, here, this is a good thing and here's the reasons why.
Turning now to education in Michigan, there was a focus at the Mackinac Policy Conference on STEM education, basically furthering the study of science, technology, engineering, and math for K through 12. There are many people concerned about how we're educating our kids in Michigan, from the schools to business leaders to foundations, including Skillman Foundation CEO Tonya Allen.
What are some of the great conversations that you have had so far, maybe even centering around education up here?
Right. Well, I think some of the conversation that we have that have been great is that people are really asking for what are the solutions around education and how do we have the right impact. And I think that a lot of times in education, we often talk about governance, who's running education, which doesn't usually get to the impact and results that we want. And I think people are really looking for that and trying to figure out concrete ways that their corporate or the private sector can get engaged. And so that's been one of the things that's been a highlight, just this rich, caring power of our corporate sector.
Because I think that so many people have issues with the state of our education right now, and especially in the state of Michigan, and where we're going with standardized testings and where we're going with curriculum, because we all, at the bottom line, want our kids to succeed. Do you think that we're finally having those concrete conversations that can lead to action? Because there's a lot of talk, but finally getting someplace that we can all agree on.
So I think that the private sector is interested in figuring out how they can have a more active role, but I think we're actually not having the right conversations at the state level.
What do we need to have conversations about then?
One is that we need to actually face the facts that as a state, we have not set any academic goals and we're not meeting them. So if you look at us over the last 10 or 15 years, we've just been sliding down the scale of states. So we're now at the top of the third quartile, and we really need to set some goals. Like the governor always talks about metrics, like set the metric that we want to be in the first quartile as a state. And then we need to look at what are the best practices of those other states that are in the first quartile. What are they doing? And quite honestly, the things that we're seeing in our legislature that are being approved and the things that we're debating are the things that those states aren't doing or saying that these are not the best practices. And one is like the fact that we allow more charters without a quality standard. The second is that the Common Core curriculum, that we're still fighting over something that we agreed 10 years ago was a good thing for our state, but we didn't have it. And now that we actually have the opportunity and it's associated with the president that, you know, some of our representatives don't agree with, there's a fight to it. And we know that that's best for our kids. That's what we've seen in Massachusetts for a long time, and they're leading the nation.
So what does it take then? Because it feels like we do come up here every year and education is part of the conversation. Do you think that we are going to reach a point where education is going to be now the full conversation, that there is actually going to be something that is done?
Yeah, I think so. So one of the things that I'm really hopeful for is that in the next year, and I think there's a lot of great things that are going on in education, especially in Detroit, and we're seeing pockets of excellence across the state, quite honestly. And I think a lot of that work has been done because people have making the right investments, but what we're having challenges is scaling those pockets of excellence to a full system of excellence. So I think one of the things that we're going to have to do in the next year is get some agreed upon statements of metrics, and that we got to lock in on that and make sure that we're holding people accountable to it. So we talked about STEM education up here all week. Well, one is that in the last 10 years, we've been able to increase the number of certificates and degrees in STEM education. We've doubled it from 15 to 32%. Well, why can't we double it again? Let's be intentional about it and say that we're going to go from 32 to 64% over the next, 10 years. Let's just make that, and then let's figure out how we incrementally measure that, and then focus on it. And I believe that Michigan, Southeast Michigan in particular, when we say we're going to do something, we actually do it. But the problem is we've just missed the opportunity to focus and devise a plan.
You know, I think it's interesting that you bring up, what's happening in the legislature, because the work that you're doing with Skillman, I mean, the work that foundations are doing with schools to help, I think, supplement some of these programs, and you just give some money to Cody High School.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, but just in terms of the addition that's coming from a lot of the foundations to make sure that our schools are a good place for our kids.
Right. So one of the things that we did with Cody High School and Osborne High School, along with the United Way a couple of years ago, was to actually take these big behemoth like schools that weren't working for kids and to break them into small schools and to make sure that those small schools had a more personalized touch and a college preparatory curriculum. And so what we're finding is that graduation rates went from 40% up to upward of 85% in those schools. Not necessarily college ready yet, but recently we made a grant to Cody High School to help redo the field as a part of a broader revitalization effort called Life Remodeled. So there's going to be home improvements. Kids are going to be in the process of taking out blight, making sure that their neighborhood is safe and beautified. And so we're excited about that because we think we have to not only prepare kids for STEM, right, but and for college, but we also have to prepare them for life and for citizenship, and we think that this is a good opportunity.
And that is going to do it for My Week. Nolan Finley and Stephen Henderson will be back with us next week. And make sure you go to MiWeek.org for any shows that you might have missed, and find us on Facebook and on Twitter. For all of us at Detroit Public TV, I'm Christy McDonald. Have a happy 4th of July, and we will see you next week.
Recently, Michigan's economy has begun to turn around. Michigan's gained over 250,000 new jobs. We've paid off $20 billion in long-term debt. And our population is increasing for the first time in a decade. But to make Michigan a top 10 state, there's still plenty of work to be done. Step up and help put Michigan on top. Learn what you can do at MichiganTurnaroundPlan.com.
Funding is also provided by Delta,